So, I mean, we may as well start it. Just tell me about you and One Way Bridge, like a little bit at first.
Um, so I started One Way Bridge officially in 2019.
Okay.
Um, there wasn't really there wasn't really a vision behind it. I honestly actually didn't think it would probably turn into anything. It was more I'd been fluffing around for years, learning stuff as
Mhm.
we frag heads do. And then I just kind of thought to myself, I wonder if I could make something that would be anywhere near something anyone would wear. Gave it a shot, sent it around, and I got good feedback, and it kind of went from there.
What made you start a perfume brand though? Where did that come from?
Um, to be honest, I don't really know. I think like the only thing that really comes to me is um what happened in my life at that time. Um, I needed like an outlet for my emotions, and I'm not, as you'll probably tell through this chat, I'm not actually that great with words. Like people write poetry to let out their emotions, people paint pictures, and for me, it's I bottled my emotions.
Yeah, art is a good way of getting a lot out, isn't it? I agree.
Yeah.
It's I don't know how to describe it. It's a way of bringing what's in our minds just out, isn't it? Which is not always easy to express. Was it round about the time of your sister?
Yeah, so my sister died, and 6 weeks before that, my husband left.
Oh, yeah, a double
So it
whammy.
was it was quite a smack in the face.
I'm not being rude here. I don't know how old you are. You'd have to tell us, Elise. Were you very young there? It's 5 years ago, isn't it?
2019, I would have just turned 30.
Really? I am
Yeah.
surprised. Anyway, yeah. So where did the name come from? Is it a poem or something?
No, so the name for One Way Bridge comes from, so here in New Zealand, we're known around the world for our one lane bridges. So you come across a bridge and only one car can go across it at a time,
Yeah.
obviously in one direction. And I wanted something quite Kiwiana, because in my mind, the niche that I was going to sit in, if it was going to go anywhere, would be, my specialty would be that I have New Zealand ingredients to put into my perfumes. So I just had to come up with something Kiwi and obviously not make it sound stupid at the same time.
No, I get that. We're going to jump all over with the questions, but that brings me to like another thing because I don't know enough about New Zealand. Obviously, you know what us Brits are like. We don't know anything about anywhere outside of our country. But is there a lot of perfumery in New Zealand?
No, it's so, to me, to be quite honest, I've seen over the last 5 years that Kiwis don't seem to be big on their luxury goods. I guess, as well, obviously, from doing my own stuff, I feel like the reason behind maybe the fact that there's not is because it is very difficult to do it from here. So it's very, very, very hard to ship dangerous goods out of New Zealand. And
Yeah.
I think that might be the biggest reason why there isn't more of us here.
It seems a shame. Right, so we're talking about New Zealand. I mean, it's a really weird question, but do you find that um as a plus that there's that, not competition's the wrong word, but you get to kind of grow in your own way, and you don't have loads of obviously in Europe there's so many brands everywhere, new ones again and again, but you don't really have that
Yeah.
pressure on you, or is it quite isolating to not maybe the influence of bigger brands around you and that?
I think so. There's definitely pros and cons. I think definitely it's a pro that I'm one of the very few here, because you're right, then I don't have a lot of competition. However, I do find that because I'm all the way here in my own little corner of the world, I quite often get put into the too hard basket. Um, so, for instance, like boutiques will reach out, we'll go through heaps of discussions. Um, there is a way that I can do it with my dangerous goods licensing and stuff like that. And then in the end, they just decide it's too much hard work. It's not as simple as shipping it across Europe, or they've got to wait too long for it, or things like that. And I think it's the same with like the influencers and stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's a question that will come, but with the brands, you think what needs to happen is for one of though I love your stuff, and I think everyone who's tried it genuinely does. It's something special. That it's awkward talking face to face, so kind of, isn't it, about that? But um, the, once one of your perfumes goes viral, they will be knocking down your door, won't they? And it will happen. I mean, it
Yeah.
just needs enough people to smell them, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, I think though, like I'm in actually quite a happy place with One Way Bridge now. Like it's taken 5 years, and it's required a lot of patience. But I feel like the brand is at the point now where, so for instance, pitching Woo that sold out really quickly. Even Amore, which was quite a different sort of scent, with the wine and the stink, that sold out really quickly. So I feel like in the 5 years, I have found, or they have actually found me, the people that genuinely appreciate and treasure my stuff. So um, I'm not really after that whole influencer type thing anyway, because I don't see my brand as that sort of brand.
Thank God.
I don't want to be, I don't want to be mass produced, or mass marketed.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I don't know if I've spoke to Tanya. I might have mentioned this in a video. April Aromatics, and she hit that point. She makes the natural perfumery and stuff of
Yeah.
where the kind of demand was starting to be a big pressure because it hasn't taken off completely, but it's getting more and more around the world. And I think probably like yourself and a few other perfumers I've spoken to, you're interested in the art, the business side of it. It's nice to
Yes.
sell them and be appreciated, but that's not why you're doing it. It's not the joy or the fun, is it?
No. No, and I think that's what comes from when you have your brand that comes from your heart, not your head.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've still got to
Yeah.
survive as well, though, haven't you? You've got to make money, otherwise
Yeah.
there's no perfume. So,
Yeah.
um,
But I think too you have to be careful. Like I have found it myself where all the glitz and glam and the tempting offers around you can almost tempt you to step over that line into what you actually didn't want to be. Um, and you just got to recognize when that point comes and step back and actually just be like, no, that's not my brand. That's not what I want it to be.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, I must have been there. I'm not saying I was your first, but whatever from the start then, really, because I'm thinking when I joined and when I first smelt Polly, it was the first one. That must have been about then. And yeah, I don't think you've changed much. You've took Actually not at all. Because I was going to ask what's your style because you have your like your Amore and your top shelf, and then you have really kind of beautiful, just really ethereal, like what I think of in my head as New Zealand ones. What is your preferred style, or do you like all these different kind of things?
I don't it I don't think I have a particular style. It really is to me all about um I actually don't really even know. Like I would love to say, because some of them are about um certain things that have happened in my life. So, Typographer's Daughter was for my sister who passed away. And then I made Dynasty, which was for my mum after my sister passed away.
Yeah.
Um, I have Wild Joy, which was to celebrate my divorce. Um, I have Top Shelf, which was that was when my husband left. I decided to put into a bottle what I thought my dream man would smell like, or imagine him to be
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Um, you got Date with a Dame, which was my very first, and Date with a Dame was me back when I was a stay-at-home mum, and just this in this little innocent world before life smacked me in the face. Blackstrap Betty I created because that's who I saw myself turned into after life smacked me in the
Yeah.
face. So it's really just it's my journey based on where my life goes, and I know that's hard for everyone else to see. Um, but I think I just try and like put that out there, and then hope that someone along the way, I guess, kind of relates to it, or even like senses my feelings when they smell the fragrance.
I think for me, I think I've said this to you. Your fragrances to me are people. They kind of
Yeah.
represent a character or a person in time or something like that. And I find obviously it's all subjective, isn't it? Do you think of Date with a Dame as a really innocent one? I think that's really got something about it in it.
It's so when I created it, it was an innocent, elegant, um, I don't even know what else other words to use for it, but that's what I intended it to be. And somehow over the course of releasing it and people smelling it and time, my feedback that I get from it constantly is it's very seductive,
It is.
which I find great but hilarious because that's just not what I intended it to be.
It's your use of musks, I think, and there is something like I think you said I'm the only person who gets the damn cherry, but there's something a little dark and cheeky in there as well. And if that's all like by accident, like serendipity, isn't it? That's happened. You didn't intend it.
No, not at all. Well, yeah, I mean not consciously. Sometimes I find with my scents, you like some people ask me how I do certain things, and I turn around and I'm like, I honestly don't know
Hmm.
because when I'm creating and I get in the zone, I just do. I don't even, you don't really think. And I guess that's what happens when you give a painter a canvas and they paint. They just do. It just happens.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we're talk as we're talking about your fragrances now. I'll ask you about your new ones because yeah, there's some very good new ones. What were they inspired? Forevermore and Bikini. Mm,
Live in Bikini Loca.
that's the one. Yes, yeah. What inspired them
Yeah.
ones?
Uh, so Live in Bikini Loca was last year when I went to Europe. Um, that was inspired by a day out at the beach in Italy.
Lovely.
And it was just yeah, it was a really magical day. Um, and then forevermore, I always say it wrong. Forevermore. That is my um that's my memory of Paris. So we were only in France for 2 days,
Yeah,
one night. We went out at night, and of course, like you come across the Eiffel Tower and you go up the Eiffel Tower, and it's all great. And then there was this one moment that just we were walking away, and we turned around, and they had turned the lights on for the Eiffel Tower. And I, to this day, I don't think it sounds so stupid because it's just a big metal sculpture with some lights on it.
it's
But I've
iconic.
actually never seen anything that pretty before.
Yeah.
I was just like blown away.
No, I can get that, and we won't ask personal questions, but clearly that was a very good night, and people who get to smell Forevermore, that's got that, it's got that human, very sensual kind of muskiness about it, hasn't it? It's romantic,
Yeah, well,
taking it a bit further, I'd say. It's very
yeah,
nice.
well, so our trip to Europe last year was also our honeymoon.
Oh right, yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah.
we don't need to say anymore. Yeah. Um, so Petticoat Lane, that's like the one before that, roughly, isn't it? And that was London, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. That's just to me, that's London in a bottle. Um, you've got your department stores with all the fancy shoes and the fancy fragrances. I had Marcus and Matt take me to um, is it Les Inches?
Yes, posh perfume place, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, so they took me there, and it was really cool because there's a guy there called Joe, working there. He was really cool, really friendly, and I just remember the memory from that is walking into the store, and the smell I got when I walked in was not the same smell that you get from walking into a fragrance department in a big department
Yeah.
store. It was very elegant. It wasn't sweet or that sort of thing. So that was what I tried to capture in there. I tried to capture simple things like, cobblestone streets.
Yeah.
Helen from Loki High
Oh yes,
Flyer,
yeah.
she actually gave me a tour of the
So that's a cat.
out the back of the museum that she works at.
Yeah.
And I actually got to smell like a whole bunch of like really old plants and raw ingredients. And yeah, so I tried to capture like the people and the things that we did.
Very selfishly, I'd like you next time you come, you need to come to the north. It's really weird. It is a completely different world, like so different. And yeah,
Yeah,
I know when you came, the bloody train strikes, and it was Britain was in a mess as
yeah,
usual, wasn't it? It was a nightmare then.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah. Because
I've, go on.
the year before that, I was supposed to go to Manchester.
Yeah, I mean it's not next door for me, but I would so go to Manchester like to catch up with
Yeah,
you and that. But yeah, it's a different, and I'd love to see how you. I'm biased, but how you smell the real UK, not the posh kind of superficial UK, but the real UK.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah,
Obviously, with Petticoat Lane was just the fragrance that again has wowed me over the last couple of years, and that's Pitch and Woo, isn't it? Where on earth did that come
yeah.
from?
So that's a really simple memory. That is literally just so that same year, I was in Milan and it was really, really, really hot. So it was June, and I was sitting in a cafe eating gelato. And when I made that scent, I had like stumbled upon a photo that the friend I was with at the time took of me eating gelato. And I instantly just had this whole oh, I'd love to scent that. I'd love to scent that memory. But with pitching where it was quite funny because I never, so there are certain scents that I do as more of like a novelty, like a bit of a fun thing for myself.
Mhm.
And pitching who was one of them. And it seems to have just blown up and so quickly that yeah, it sold out really quick and can't make it again.
I'm kind of glad with that because it makes me exclusive. But do you know what the humbug sweet is that I'm talking about that I get in it? Do you get them in New Zealand?
I don't think so.
They like stripy toffees. They're like brown or black, and they've got stripes along them. And they're this what our grandparents used to give us. It's like a mint, but with a chewy toffee kind of flavour with it, and it's so vivid that again, maybe my scent memories, isn't it? It's so vivid in that beginning of the fragrance. Really, it's. I think that's what makes it. Because there's gelato fragrances out there, isn't there? And to be fair, they're quite
Yeah.
awful, aren't they? It must be something that's really hard to actually perfect. Because yeah, they're awful.
Um, I I guess I guess mine I kind of cheated with because I don't my the base that I used is not actually like a gelato base, I guess. It's actually a I've created like a vintage ice cream base.
Hmm. That's not
So it's
cheating,
quite
is it?
weird because
Though?
on its on its own it smells a little bit it smells, if I had to compare it to something, I'd say French vanilla ice cream mixed with dynasty scent, if that makes sense, because there's more to it than just ice cream.
Yeah. Yes, there is. There's it's perfume. It's really hard to describe it, isn't it? It's not gourmand, and it is perfumey, but it
No,
does smell like ice cream. You can't get away from
yeah,
it, can you? It's
yeah,
genius, really. Again, um, going back before that, because I'm trying to think of the ones that are in the video. Wild Joy. I think you've described what that was
yeah.
about, but tell us more about that one.
So that one was yeah, so that one was to celebrate my divorce. That one was scented from I took my three children on a road trip. We went down to the South Island, and we went bush basically.
Yeah.
And it was so nice. It was so natural. That's where I get the New Zealand amber from,
All
down
right. Yeah.
south. So that's a really like it's a really simple one, but it's actually one I wear a lot. Not because obviously why I created it, but I really, really love the freshness of it without it being sharp because a lot of green things I find quite sharp, which I don't like.
Yeah. It because I mean we'll talk about them both together, I guess. But that came out with Mm,
Ever never.
that's the one, which was the one I thought
Yeah.
I'd absolutely be crazy over. But for some reason, Wild Joy was the one I loved from them two. There's nothing wrong with Ever Never. I know I don't have to like say
Yeah.
this, but yeah, that just didn't with me personally work. But I love the idea behind it and that. Where did that one come from?
So that was actually that was made after I got into a relationship after my divorce. Um, and it lasted a year and then ended, obviously.
Yeah,
And that's what I made to um, get over it, I guess, because again, it was just my emotions and my feelings. And of course, at the time, like you're quite angry because your heart's been broken. And I was like, that's where the name comes from,
yeah.
it's she will forever be your never.
All right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It,
But that one's a funny one because even on myself, I really have to be in the right mood to wear it. Otherwise, I feel like the lilac in it um sometimes smells like toilet spray.
Yeah, see, I like the lilac in it. It's really well. It's obviously like you say, our mood affects how things wear on us and that, isn't it? It's the damn orange, and
Yeah,
the orange in bikini, the bikini one. I will get the names right at one
yeah.
point, but yeah, I like that. It's hasn't it got neroli or petitgrain in it as well, which I don't generally like, and I
it's
like that.
it's yeah, it's got neroli in it, but it's only got enough neroli in it to boost the orange because of course orange on its own is such a hard scent or has such a hard note to to make it last.
Yeah.
So you've got to boost it with something.
It has well, I suppose it's because I hate neroli. It adds that sharpness in it, but I like it needs that sharpness, doesn't it? That fragrance, it
Yeah,
really does.
yeah,
So.
yeah. Because I also find that the neroli, actually by coincidence, it wasn't planned, it boosts the gin note, like it gives the gin that little bit of edge that it needs, because gin doesn't smell sweet or anything. It's got a weird dry.
It's kind of green. Well, it's aromatic, isn't it? But it's kind of
Yeah,
got a green. I hate gin, by the way, as well. But again, something about that fragrance just works, doesn't it? I think
yeah,
that's the thing I've discovered about your brand personally, as somebody who's into it, is never judge what you're gonna get because it's a
yeah,
complete
for
surprise, isn't
sure.
it? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I was naughty and bought a more blind buy it, but
yeah,
it's so first spray you are like, what the? But it's more the grape because again I don't know what it's like down in New Zealand, but you don't get grape fragrances here, and grape is not we don't have stuff scented with grape either, so it's quite unusual to us. Obviously wine, yes, but not
yeah,
not grape. So that was really
yeah,
unexpected, and then yeah, it's very naughty, isn't it? It's it's great actually.
yeah. Yeah, it's a funny one because I didn't expect that many people to like it, but the people who do like it, they love it. Like it's an insane love of it, which I find quite funny. But it even surprised me because again, like sometimes you make things and you have a plan in your head of how it's supposed to go and how it's supposed to smell and stuff. And like Amore was supposed to just have like some skank like in the background, but instead it literally just smacks you in the face straight up.
Yeah,
But then of course it dries down and you get the grape and the violet leaf and the green and wood, and so that even surprised me. And sometimes I don't generally release anything unless I'm 100% sure. And then very sometimes, like with Amore, I just was like, well, I mean, people can try it and I'll just see how it goes.
It's I imagine this is a really hard thing to get right, but the difference between like BO and skanky sweat and that that is not as it's okay, again hard to talk about, isn't it? But that's bedroom musk. It's not like a dirty sweat, is it? Is that quite hard to get that balance?
Um, it kind of is because there's so many different ingredients out there, and you get, yeah, I don't know, because like I guess it depends on your own. Everyone smells something different.
It's
So,
true.
like to me, top shelf, the musk in that was supposed to be, and still smells to me like a guy. Um, but other people perceive it as something completely different.
Um, again, we all see it differently, but it is for me. It's a like you say, it's a hairy chest guy, and it's that sheepskin rug. I don't know where I get the sheepskin rug from, but it has that kind of. I suppose if we sniffed sheepskin rugs, haven't we? It does smell still like a sheep, doesn't it? Even though they've been washed in that, it has a certain kind of animalic feel about it as well.
Yeah, yeah, or like that, like the lanolin smell, which is one of those smells that it actually doesn't smell that good, but you can't stop smelling it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That well,
Yeah, yeah,
when castoreum's used in something, it's hair to me. It's hairy bum, but but
yeah.
somehow it smells good,
Dirty.
doesn't it? It's just nice.
Well, see, being a mum of kids, I sit there and I smell stuff, and I'm just like, it smells like dirty diapers,
Yeah,
or like, or like a moire. People would probably be horrified to hear this, but when I first made it, and my first smell of the skank, um, when I first wore it, was like someone had the woman who I've pictured as making the wine has like some sort of fungal infection between her toes,
lovely.
like that kind of smell. And yeah, musk is hard. You're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it.
Yeah,
And it also is very hard to adapt musks to the scent you're making because you don't want to put the same musk in everything because that just gets boring.
you definitely don't. Yeah, musks. I mean, this might be really boring to some people, but I don't think so. It's fascinating. That for me is your signature. None of them, like you say, smell exact anything like each other, but that human feel you give them. Um, I've asked you this. It sounds naff asking you again, but do you have a character or an actual real person in mind, or the idea of a real person each time you create a fragrance?
I think it's not generally, I mean, behind a few of them is a real person, but in general, it's more like a fantasy person.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's always a picture in my mind of a person and what I expect them to look like and smell like, and I don't think I could make a scent without having that person in my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's we're not talking about me in this, but obviously I write quite random posts. But for me, it's always there's got to be a character. There's got to be something real, something tangible
Yeah,
that takes it in a direction, doesn't it? So I get that when
yeah.
creating. So
I
yeah,
I think that's the way to as well to get to get people to feel your fragrance. Like it's one thing to wear a fragrance and to be like, oh yeah, it smells good, I feel good. But when you have a picture of a person to put to it, people like to associate themselves with that person or their personality or you know.
Yeah, I get that because I'd love to date with a dame, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah, I mean, this is not a great question to ask you, but have you ever thought, what's the point? Let's just stop this.
Um, Definitely. It's so I just about did it with COVID, um, because I had been going for a couple of years when COVID hit. And I had actually got to the point where I'd lined up some contracts with a
Yeah,
few boutiques in different parts of the world. And then, of course, I lost that due to COVID because everything just shut down. And then by the time the world reopened, the boutiques had just long lost interest, because I wasn't like the newest kid on the block anymore.
yeah,
And then sometimes it just depends on like your life circumstances. You can be going through like a bit of a down
mhm.
patch, and you don't feel like it. I like recently I have found myself not being that interested in Instagram. And it's more just because of all the other drama and stuff attached to Instagram, all the
Oh
random
yes.
stuff that pops up that you don't want to see. And um, yeah, so it's a hard one, but I have learned um, that it's okay to just let the perfume sit there. It's not going anywhere. And when you're ready to pick it back up, then pick it back up.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go a bit more into that after towards the end. I won't keep you that much longer. You're just fascinating. Anyway, let's that kind of leads me a bit to not so much. I suppose social media helps you, and you can kind of see the good and the bad with it all. But
Yeah.
as someone who I just enjoy the perfume, basically, I don't have agendas with it all, but I'm not. I don't name. We're not creating a drama. What has been your experience with a more, let's say, influencers?
Um, I have stayed away from influencers. Um, the one I will be very honest, and I know a lot of people will not probably like this answer, but I don't like how sexual they are. I don't want my vintage brand to be associated with an influencer who will be on their Instagram near naked type thing. I feel like that would cheapen my brand a lot.
I don't. I think people will really respect you for that because, again, you've got to make money, and it would be an easy thing to do, wouldn't it? But the fact that
Yeah,
you,
well that's yeah, like I've had marketing people actually, come to me, and one guy, it wasn't even really a joke. He said, he's like, put a bottle up in your chest area, and he goes, I guarantee you'll sell like 100 bottles. And I was like, yes, but then what are you associating that bottle and that brand with? I get that everything in life is almost sexualized, but by sexualizing everything to that point, it actually ends up being really cheapened as well. Like the whole look of the brand just goes downhill.
I agree. I agree. I mean, we're not talking about just talking generally.
Yeah,
I think it's got out of hand of late. Everything seems to be more heightened up and that, doesn't it? And I think a lot of it.
yeah,
I don't mean to be rude to people, but it's in the gutter, isn't it? It
yeah,
really truly is. And again, I know perfume and everything is kind of related to sex and things, but it's almost like soft put. It's gone to the point where it's just ridiculous, hasn't it? It's
yeah,
caricatures and smut and no.
yeah. Well,
It,
and I think the thing is as well is that when you when you sexualize things to that point, it turns into instant gratification, which in turn you become the next hyped thing. But we all know what happens with the hyped things. They're here and then they're gone and you never hear about them ever again.
yes. Well, and
It's not a long-term thing.
Elise, let's. I mean, this is my personal opinion. What's hyped is generally trash. It's whatever has been mass pushed out for free and what have you. Like you say, it's hyped up and it's gone. Next week, nobody's talking
Yeah,
about it. Everyone's forgotten about it. And this
yeah,
is my main attraction to indie perfumery. I know the names are all meaningless, but you guys just create fragrance basically for yourselves. You just want to say
yeah,
something. Who cares whether a
yep,
million people like it? As long as one person can really, I'm not speaking for you, but I imagine as long as one person loves it and gets it, that's enough, isn't it? Really?
yep. It really is. It's just about the feeling of when you're an artist and you do struggle to um to put your emotions out there, you really just need that one or two or three people to feel like someone understands you.
Well, AJ does there if you heard her. But yes, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point? You're making something empty that nobody. That's meaningless, isn't it?
Well, you're in it for the dollars
Yeah.
if you're not in it for the art. Yeah.
And that soon gets, I imagine that soon loses its shine as well, even. You don't get a warm
I
feeling from
I
money, do you?
don't know.
Same here. So, I mean, I know you've said there's nothing particularly like a goal direction or anything like that, but it is the kind of, do you want the brand to be around in 10 years? Say that's a good enough goal, isn't it? Or do you think you'll just see when
I
you get there kind of thing?
No, I definitely do. Like, I would like it to be around for as long as I can make perfume. Um, because it's my way of expressing myself.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that, then I don't know how I would do it.
No, that makes sense. And this is a cheeky question again, you don't have to ask. Have any brands ever approached you to create for them?
So I have actually had a few over the years. Um, and in general, it doesn't go anywhere because because I can't create what they want because I can't create from my head. It always comes from my heart. And so it's always got my interpretation on it.
So you
I cannot be given a brief and being told what to do. The custom fragrances I do make for people, they give me complete creative freedom. Like they'll give me one note or something, and I go from there.
No, I get that. I mean, you can tell that from your fragrances. I imagine I'm not saying you wing it, but I think you start with something and see where it goes, and what's born in the end is
Yeah,
born in the end, kind of thing, isn't it?
yeah. Well, the funniest thing is what's born in the end is usually quite different to what the plan is.
Yeah,
But then when you smell it, it's exactly what you wanted.
that must be very satisfying, though.
It is, and it's like it's extra satisfying because most of the time it ends up smelling even better than what I imagined it would.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to keep you forever and ever, but I could probably talk forever and ever. Like this is a really generic question, but we'll get into kind of your taste and stuff. But is there a perfume in the world that you wish you'd created because it's so good?
Ooh. So there's one perfume that I have never, ever, ever been able to stray away from, and it's actually the Dior Pure Poison. And I don't know what it is about that perfume, but it really hits me. Like literally every time I wear it, I'm like, oh man, this is just so good.
I haven't smelled pure poison, but I have a very deep connection to poison. It's what my mum wore by the bottle load, so I really detest the damn stuff. And I don't detest my mum, obviously, but it's so astringent, it's so sharp, isn't it? When someone
Oh,
overwears
but
it, my
see,
God.
yeah, I think the thing, so pure poison to me is very different from the other ones. And I think it's the reason I love it is because it's the very first and only perfume I've ever come across with jasmine in it that I can wear because there's just something about the jasmine note. I love jasmine. I love like the natural jasmine, but every time I smell it in a perfume, it just it literally horrifies me. And I don't know what it is. I'm guessing somewhere in my life I've come across a horrific jasmine or whatever, and it's just kind of stuck with me. It's a bit like you and orange.
Yeah. I mean, that could be the original poison, to be fair. That's one heck of a awful jasmine. It's like hairspray. It's
Yeah,
awful. No,
yeah.
no,
Well, the I think I associate a lot of like lavenders, jasmines, vanillas with air freshener,
yeah.
like toilet, like bathroom air freshener.
I don't know what that is though, whether that's necessarily because the fragrance is like that or what we've just got so used to experiencing. Maybe one day that used to smell absolutely lovely, didn't it? But we just associate with a
Yeah.
get rid of bad smells, don't we?
Yeah.
What got you into fragrance? Did your mum wear a lot? Were you just a fan from being very young and that?
Um, so at the age of 16, I got a job at a department store on the fragrance counters, and I fell in love. My very first bottle of perfume was the original Miss Dior Cherie.
All right, right.
And yeah, and I just remember like I can't even remember back then whether it was more the bottle or what was in the bottle, but I just like spending my first entire paycheck on a bottle of perfume. I I felt like you know, I it was luxury. I could
Yeah.
afford luxury. And it made me feel good about myself.
No, that's fair enough. How? I mean, we should have started this at the beginning, really. But how did you become a perfumer? Is it all completely self-taught, or have you got like a chemistry background or something?
It's all completely self-taught. for years and years. I really love cooking.
Yeah,
Um, and to the point that instead of novels, I will read recipe books to learn what goes with what.
yeah.
And somehow through that, I don't know whether it was like herbs or something like that, that I was just like, oh, I wonder if I could like put these kind of skills into something that I actually um oh, what's the word for it? I don't know, love or use or just like I've always loved the beauty industry. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like, how can I turn that love into something else or expand on it, I guess.
And perfume's kind of forever, whereas food is gone in 5 minutes, isn't it? Sort of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you must have been good at chemistry though, because I mean, I have these ideas in my head. I wouldn't have a clue or the ability to put them together.
Yeah. I don't think so. Uh, so the first few years, there was a lot of wasted money. A lot of stuff went down the drain. It really was in minute amounts, testing things out, figuring like I had these tiny little like petri dishes,
Hmm.
and I would lay 50 of them out, and I would get two different or like one different oil, and I'd put a drop in each, and then I'd get 50 others and then put a drop of each in that, and then put the lid on, and then a couple of days later come back and smell them. And that is quite literally how I learned everything, by trial and error and figuring out what goes with what. And along the way, I've also learned big time that just because something smells good in your head does not mean, in fact, majority of the time, it will not smell good in a bottle.
Right. See, the
Because in your head you don't have that chemical reaction and all of that.
no, no, I get that. It's like cook, like you say, cooking, isn't it? You read it in a book. It ain't gonna turn out like that, is it? Really? So no, I
Yeah.
get that. But yeah, I asked because Date with a Dame being your first one, I actually can't believe it because again, it's hard saying it talking to you, but I haven't smelt. There's so many perfumes, so many professional perfumes, and so much out there. But I've never smelt something. It's complete. You know, indie can be a bit edgy sometimes. It can be a bit not quite finished, not quite, and that's exciting enough. But Date with a Dame is such a. It could have come from Dior. It could have come from Chanel or something like that. How did you manage to get? Was it lucky or was there a million attempts before that?
Um, I do know there was a lot of attempts, somewhere up in the like 180 tries. But I think so that one, because it was my first, and I didn't actually, at that stage, I didn't actually believe in myself. So I didn't think it would actually go anywhere. And I had in my mind, if I can just put me into a bottle and it be something smell nice enough that I can wear myself, then I've succeeded in my dream of, well, putting something in a bottle. And I think that's honestly just what's behind it. Like I had such a deep longing of finally expressing myself, that's how it came about.
No, that's fair enough. And like I say, it's. I mean, it's cheesy to say it was perfection. It is. It's so good. Obviously, I tried Polly, and then I got your sample set and that, and I tried a few of them. They are all quite Wow, they do take you back. They are like very different from each other as well, aren't they? And then I think Date with a Day might have been the fourth or fifth. It wasn't a straight on one. It was just like I've got to get this like now. It was
Yep.
so good. And again, all of them, you must have some that you've thrown away. What makes you decide I'll keep this one? And the ones you've thrown away, will you ever go back to them?
Um, so it's interesting you say that because I don't tend to throw a lot away. I don't tend to go into the process of making something unless I have like quite strong feelings behind it. Um, the current one that I've just finished that I'm going to release in Las Vegas, it's half of one I did years and years and years ago that I got feedback on
Hmm.
from one person and they said it would never be anything. They're like, nope, that just doesn't, um, it just doesn't go type thing. Which that's not why I decided to let go of it. It just wasn't the right time for that one. And now I've um, actually used that half and added to it, and it's come to life. It's a bit like the typographer's daughter for my sister, the Feijoa fruit accord in it. I had had sitting in my cupboard for years,
Yeah,
and the only thing I knew about it was that it would have to be for something very special. And then when my sister passed, I was like, that's exactly what it's for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So if I do make something, I tend to just put a label on it, write the ingredients down, and then just let it sit.
right. I've probably had you for about an hour, so I'll ask one more question, and then you can talk about your new one because three people might watch this video. So, but no, you can tell us all about the new one. And I suppose my last question is there anything you want to to tell people who love the brand? I don't mean in like a cheesy, thank you way, but is there anything you want to like say about the journey of the brand or anything like that?
I mean, obviously, thanks for sticking with me. And just like I genuinely appreciate the the like the encouragement and the time that people take to actually um like put stuff on Instagram for me. Um it's because it's not just it's not just my brand, it's my heart and soul. And I genuinely like it. It makes my day when I see a post with a One Way Bridge fragrance, or even like a DM from someone telling me how much they love the scent. Because a big part of it is, um, I think, too, when I first started creating, because I was a stay at home mum, I didn't get like a lot of social time with people. And by creating scent and jumping on Instagram, I felt like I was connecting with people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, like, a big part of One Way Bridge is the connection that I'm finding with people. And when they love my stuff, it feels like, um, it's going to sound stupid, but you're kind of like soulmates in a way because your heart feels the same for the fragrance, if that
I,
makes sense.
I do get that because it is like I think I've said this to you as well. It's like getting to know you through
Yeah.
actually sniffing your fragrances, and I don't think you need to thank us because I'd say I don't know all your fans, but in the UK, like Marcus, I know the people that like your perfume that I know. we don't just post shit for the hell of it. Pardon me, I'll cut that out. We don't just post stuff for the heck of it. We post it because we absolutely love it and we want to talk about it because it's just so good. So that's why it's not a job, it's not a chore. It's because we genuinely love what you do. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell us about also before you tell us about the new one. Will the new one be available like in New Zealand for international people to buy? Maybe eventually.
I actually, I actually don't know. I will probably, so it was initially supposed to be one just for the people in Las Vegas. Um, but I feel like with everything else, I'm probably going to have my arm twisted and be convinced to just release it to everyone, which I probably will, because I do personally find I don't like it when a brand makes a scent and they only make it available in a certain country.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Um, so I don't actually want to do that. So what I'll probably do with it is, at the moment, the plan is to make it a limited release, um, because it's what I feel is one of my more daring ones. Um, it's probably not going to be like a permanent one, but we'll see.
You see, you say that it's going to be a daring one. You know that every single person watching this who loves you, I want it. So yeah,
Well, see, again, there's there's a person in my head that I've created in the bottle, um, and it's definitely like, again, it's definitely got like a musky aspect to it, and I think you'll be quite you'll be intrigued by it, because I feel like it's actually a very, very different mask to my current ones.
right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I look
Like, I
very
think,
forward to that.
yeah. I don't want to give away too much, because I don't want people to be bored of it, or like, yeah, yeah,
I get it.
before I even get the opportunity to put it out there.
Plus, I imagine this is your first kind of big foray into America, so let's leave it to them to get all excited first, and then we'll enjoy it after, can't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can just go off what they say. If they like it, then it's all good. And if they don't, then I'll just go home from Las Vegas and just not release
No, I know. Well, if they don't like it, I think we might like it even more.
it.
Love you, America. But yeah. Um, so I want to thank you for your time and the awkwardness of. Well, it hasn't been awkward actually, but I'm. This is the first time I've been brave enough to kind of do this myself. I struggle with it a lot, and yeah. So I really appreciate
Yeah.
your time and putting up with me for this long, for 4 years or something as well. And anyone who knows me, the constant questions is very me. Yeah.
Oh no, but I like it, because it just means like there's a genuine interest behind it.
Yeah, I'm a people person. I want to understand people and you don't get to speak to many perfumers from the other side, I must say, but when you do, it's always really fascinating because you're all such different people. And again, you know me well enough. I only speak to real perfumers, let's say. So yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. I've really enjoyed it. So
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thanks for having me.
And yes, and just to everyone out there, this definitely wasn't sponsored. This was because I really wanted to do it. All right then. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks. Good night. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.